Slogans Rock and Metal Extravaganza. We are here today to honor the memory of Jeff Halvarson, who we sadly lost back in May. Uh, he was always in our chats whenever he could make it, and yeah, I
Yep.
felt wanted to do this little tribute to him. So yeah, so we'll just get started. So he was on a bunch of the Contrarians. That's the main channel that he was on mostly. He was on a few grants, I think one or two grants Rock Warehouse, but mostly from the Contrarians. And I've also got the link in the description. There's a playlist of all the shows that he's been on. Yep, thanks, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Cool that you're here. So yeah, we got so are we here? So yeah, we got Tammy. Hello, Tammy. Nice that you could join us to honor your good friend. So Tammy actually knew Jeff personally. So yeah, I've been in touch with her a little bit and a few other of Jeff's friends, and they've been just yeah. So they wanted to watch this, and they're going to be throwing a celebration of life for him, and they're going to be sharing this video, I think, and playing some of the shows that he's been on as well, which I've sent them.
Good,
So
man. Great.
yeah, so that's good. Yeah. So yeah, the Contrarians. Martin Popoff actually did this, and he posted this on their website. So he wrote, I guess he did this June 2nd. So yeah, in memory of Jeff E. Halverson, Contrarians lost a great friend of the show, as well as a quality music analyst in general, when it was learned that Jeff E. Halverson passed away May 21st, 2025. Jeff was also a listener of Martin's History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff podcast. Jeff's fine thoughts can be seen on our panel discussion, our favorite album cover show, as well as a few others. And then it says, as his Chicagoland tribute reads, so this was his official obituary in the Chicagoland, as it's a newspaper. Jeffy Halverson, born on December 12, 1966, passed away May 21st, 2025. He is remembered as a talented self-taught computer programmer who made significant contributions supporting his business partners, working in the financial sector. His easygoing, lovable, cantankerous personality truly resonated with those who had the honor of knowing him. Passionate music lover, Jeff found joy in both playing and listening to music. He skillfully played acoustic and electric guitar as well as the bass, often sharing the gift of music with friends and family. His love for animals was also a defining aspect of his life, showcasing his compassionate and kind-hearted nature. Jeff was survived by his beloved cats, Ponies, Princess, Pumpkin, Squirrel, Biscuit, and Whiskers. His dedicated, chosen family have found homes for them all. Throughout his life, Jeff cultivated friendships with many, providing friendship and support to those around him. His legacy is one of warmth and enthusiasm, leaving a lasting impact of the lives he touched. Jeff will be deeply missed by all who knew him. Please consider donating to your local non-kill shelter and rescues in Jeff's name. On behalf of Martin, Marco, and Grant, lift a pint on Jeff's behalf. He will be greatly missed. So there's some comments here that I guess replied to this. So sad to hear this. Rest in peace, Jeff, and thanks for everything. Sorry to hear this. Condolences to his loved ones. This is sad. I appeared on a few shows with Jeff. He had a great sense of humor. My condolences to his family and friends. Yeah, so there's a lot of people commenting, offering condolences to this post. So that was good to see that a lot of his music friends on here
Yep.
commented. So it's cool to see that people did that. So
So one thing I always remember about Jeff, whenever he was on a show, he always had them orange amps behind him.
yeah.
So yeah,
Oh yeah. He always had those.
yeah,
Yeah. He's the orange amp guy. That's how I always remembered him. Always had the gear behind him.
100%.
So yeah, we're gonna show a little some clips, some footage from the Contrarians that he was on, and yeah, I'll get into a little bit of a description of what you're seeing, so I'm not confused as to what's going. So the first one is they just got better and better. So talking about bands that they felt got better as they went along. So I got it all here. So where's the make it? Oh my God, how do I do this? Solo layout. There we go. I guess I have to show us. I'll just go full screen. But yeah. All right. So I'll play this from here. Let me know that it sounds all good when I play this, and it's all. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Jeff, let's throw it over to you. Give us your three. What is give us some bands that continue to grow and become better over time.
Well, first, I'd like to actually admit that I have not ever heard either of those two Ambrosia albums, but I've heard them mentioned enough recently that I think I'm going to have to check them out. It sounds intriguing. I remember Ambrosia. I was in Chicago in the 70s growing up as a kid. I remember their hits coming on. It wasn't really my thing, but I was still figuring out my musical taste at that point. And I have no idea what those earlier records are, but I appreciate the encouragement to check them out. Okay, so on to my stuff. I got, this was hard. This was actually really hard, and I had to spend a lot of time on it because I kept finding every band I thought was going to work. And it turns out there's a big dip, or there's, the best album was the second one, or, they just didn't improve in order. This is actually, I think, a somewhat rare phenomenon.
Yeah, to me, when I come up with these topics for even my podcast as well, the mark of a good topic is when there aren't enough examples, right? It's hard to find examples, right?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. It made me think hard, and I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I did come up with one that I think is a strong. I was afraid this was going to be taken. The best example of this I have found is Judas Priest, Rock-a-Rolla, up through, and we'll leave some suspense. So Rock-a-Rolla is the John the Music Nut show recently convinced me to go back and listen to it again. And it's not a bad album, but it's not a great album, I don't think. And they were finding their way. But by Sad Wings, the first classic Judas Priest track, Victim of Changes, in my opinion, all this is my opinion, it shows up, and as they say, shit is underway. Sin After Sin improves on the formula. Stained Class, I think, would be the first truly great album, or at least the album with truly great moments, and that's Exciter for me, and Beyond the Realms of Death are those are real kind of landmark milestone type songs. Hellbent for Leather, they're refining, and by British Steel, they've basically come up with a blueprint. British Steel kind of defines what heavy metal, kind of standard. There's a blueprint for heavy metal in British Steel, I think. It's still got a little bit of experimental stuff, but they pretty solidly have the formula at that point. In fact, I think that would make an interesting topic if you guys haven't done this already. Albums that are the kind of the prototype for an entire genre. I can think of a few other examples of that, but I think British Steel is one. They didn't invent heavy metal, but I think they sure as hell did refine it with British Steel.
Nice.
I actually think Point of Entry is an improvement on British Steel. So here's my contrarian side. I really like Point of Entry, and I think I think the streak continues. And then Screaming for Vengeance, I don't think I have to say much about Screaming for Vengeance. There's a lot of great stuff on there. For me, Ram It Down, not Ram It Down, Defenders of the Faith is where it kind of levels out a little bit. They're climbing and they're climbing, and I feel like Screaming is a peak, and then they start dropping down, and Turbo is interesting, but it's not really there. And Ram It Down there's really some tough tracks on that thing. And then, Painkiller and more things happen, and all of that, and that's fine. But that's the arc, is Rock-a-Rolla through Screaming for Vengeance.
Yeah, I had that in my honorables as well, up to Hellbent.
Yeah, so that was that clip. I think it keeps going a little bit more. I'm gonna keep playing it for a little bit here. It does actually. I think I stopped it at the wrong spot. It's my mistake. Yeah. Oops. All right. So I'm gonna keep playing it here. Where are we?
And because Hellbent is my favorite album of theirs, but I totally agree with that straight up all the way through Hellbent, at least for sure. And I like your argument for the rest of it though too. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like Point of Entry also, I mean, really, if there's a crankable Priest tune that's not on British Steel or Screaming for Vengeance, for me, it's on Point of Entry. Heading out to the highway, hot rockin', those were some, there's some filler tracks on that album, but they're kind of fun, as opposed to the filler tracks on the later album that I kind of felt like, you know, we don't need no parental guidance. I think they, at some point, and this will be my longest one, because I got the most to say about Priest. I think at some point they kind of became a bit of almost a little bit of a caricature of what they had, you know, they realized it was screaming, and then they started to get a little too full of themselves, maybe. There's still some great tracks on every one of those albums. I mean, I love the song Ran It Down. It's a great song. But the whole album, you know, as a whole, maybe not. Okay, so.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. Oh God, parental guidance. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, you brought a good argument there about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are probably the two of the better songs on Point of Entry. Yeah, I like Hot. So yeah, Hot Rock and the second part. I'll tell you what songs. So we're going to be playing Hot Rockin' in the second part of this. We're going to play a bunch of songs that, yeah.
Awesome.
Hot Rockin' is the song we're going to start with. So I'm showing these videos in order. So certain songs that he mentions here, we're going to do in a second video and just hang out and play the music.
Always well spoken too. Anytime he brought his argument, he knew how to
better than me. I'm sitting there.
Definitely better than me.
I'm sitting there. This song, and then I know that part. He's just like, go, give him a topic, just knows what to say. So, yeah, very well spoken. There's really a good breakdown of that. So let's see. Don't want to mess this up now. So we got. Okay. So yeah, the next one's kind of funny too. It's actually some interesting. Okay, so next one, he was on a show, Top 5 Guilty Pleasures. So yeah, he starts talking here about his guilty pleasures. So we're gonna play a little bit of this, and yeah, so watch this one. Go ahead, share screen. All right, you got it. All right, good.
ABBA, I get it. All right, Jeff, what's your two?
All right. Well, first to comment on the ABBA thing. I read a couple of books about Saturday Night Live, and ABBA played Waterloo on Saturday Night Live pretty early on, and apparently they didn't. The guys didn't really want to book them. They were pretty much told, "You are going to put these guys on your show because they are very popular, and we are going to get viewers." So they had them do Waterloo on a cruise ship of some sort, and throughout the whole thing, water is pouring down on them. The boat just starts springing a leak, and they were real troopers about it. I mean, they I'm not sure if they were in on the joke or how this worked. Didn't say, but they kept going with with what they were doing and just put up with it. It was, I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of funny because, yeah, I get it. ABBA's not exactly cool at that point. On the other hand, they're very popular and they seem to be pretty professional. And they look like they're having such a good time when they're doing the music that,
I just remember when I was a kid in the 70s and stuff, and they had tons of singles out. You heard ABBA all the time on the radio. So I don't know. I just assume that, so maybe they got tired of hearing them. Could that be possible?
Oh, certainly. I mean, that, a lot of things get burned out. And so I've got sort of a three-pronged approach to this because, what is a guilty pleasure? Now I'm going to pontificate. Martin Jr., you can call me.
Uh-oh. Oh God, look out.
So, is it a guilty pleasure to the general public who would look at it and say, what are you doing listening to that? What's wrong with you? Is it a guilty pleasure to the contrarians who would say, what are you doing listening to that? What's wrong with you? Which is, what I might expect somebody to say that about ABBA, given that it's mostly hard rock and prog and whatnot here. Obviously, people are kind of more open-minded and it's not a gatekeeping community, but still there's stuff that's cooler than not in this particular subculture. And then is it a guilty pleasure to me because there's some reason that I know or I feel that I shouldn't be listening to this? And it doesn't really have to do with anybody else. And that's kind of a special case. So I gotta follow up ABBA. I'm going to throw Dan a bone. I do not have any CDs or vinyl. Everything is digital for me. So here's a copy of Main Course by the Bee Gees. I think that's a pretty good record.
Well, there's nothing wrong with okay, you're right. Go ahead.
You have I think there are other people that are a little more hardcore that might say, and normally that's kind of where I tend to sit. It's like, you like Venom? If I don't like Venom, I still understand. I respect your hardcore. You like something like that. You like Slayer, whatever. If you like the Bee Gees, well, what's going on here? But those songs are pretty damn good. Jive Talking kicks ass.
Hey, Barry Gibb, hell of a songwriter. And the fact, if you think about Saturday Night Fever, where they wrote all those great hits on that in a matter of, they just cranked those out. They were on fire then. You cannot deny the talent within them at all. Holy mackerel.
Great songwriting, yeah.
Yeah. And, well delivered. I mean, a lot of people don't really think much of the high voices, but, hey, there's all kinds of stuff to like. And to me, going to something like that, again, it just then throws your harder stuff into perspective, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just continually only listen to harder and harder and harder stuff. I mean, at some point, haven't we already done that with industrial or somewhere? We must have hit maximum hardness. There's no point in making an escalation. So that would be one that I think would be possibly a guilty pleasure in the eyes of a lot of people who, at least the people that watch this, looking for hard rock content. Oh, great, the Bee Gees. Thanks. Well, I don't know. That's how it is.
You might be surprised on the contrarian audience and what they like.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think since a lot of people here are very open-minded, it's going to attract open-minded listeners too.
And you mentioned, and I mentioned on Sea of Tranquility, doing Bread, doing Player. Come on. And there were a lot of people. Well, there were some people over there that went, "Oh, really? What? But that's his channel. He wants to do it. And a lot of people applauded us for doing those bands because no one else is talking about them. So we're going to be doing Firefall here soon. I don't know when, probably, I don't know, a couple weeks. So, but someone needs to talk about it, and Pete's got the channel for it. So you never know. We might do ABBA over there, for crying out loud, or the Bee Gees.
All right. Next one I'm going to go in kind of the same vein is a little bit different, is Electric Six, the Fire album. This is kind of goofy novelty rock. I got my introduction to it by seeing a video like 20 years ago of some kittens doing gay bar, which was very, very, very silly. And I really liked it. And I wound up checking out the album. It's like, oh, wow, all this stuff is really fun. Most of it's very upbeat. It's silly as hell. You must have been the dance commander. I went to the store to get more fire to start the war. All this other crazy shit. It's just very goofy, and it's actually a hell of a lot of fun. So why not? That would be probably not standard contrarian fare. The general public, I think, was pretty amused by it, at least the people I knew. But I don't know. You look confused, right?
I'm looking them up. They've got quite a catalog.
Yeah, so that's funny.
Yeah, that was a good
Wow.
one.
Yeah,
I've never heard. I've never listened to it.
I watched that and I listened back to that. I'm like, wait, did he just say gay bar? And I had to look it up, and it was just like, oh, it's totally ridiculous. It's like, let's start a nuclear war at the gay bar. It's like, what?
That's funny. His friends
Makes
talking
no
about
sense.
they're blasting that down dirt roads and.
Yeah, Judas Priest to Bee Gees to Electric Six.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. Like he said, goofy novelty rock. That's kind of I guess that's an accurate description.
He
it's
said
actually
it
good.
missed. He said
It's
it
good
missed in the
stuff.
video though that there's just so much stuff out there, you know.
Yeah, it's fun music. But yeah, like they go talking and they said these guys have like 15 albums or something. It's crazy. But yeah, he mentions he only knows like the one album. But yeah, you can go by. Like I said, these videos are all in the description, so you can watch the whole thing. There's a whole entire playlist of all of Jeff's appearances. So next one is weird early albums that are better than you think. Maybe he created a new genre. Yes. So we got what do we got here? So make sure I got this right. Okay, yeah. So this one, weird early albums that are better than. Let's see. Share that. Yeah, so he's doing like his honorable mentions here. So this one I love. This is a great song that he brings up here. Yeah. Great taste in music. So we got, let's see. All right.
There you go. Anybody else have any honorable mentions? We can wrap this dog up early.
I got a couple.
Go ahead.
I had UFO on there, but that's been well covered. Status Quo has been mentioned. I do have a counter example just for the hell of it, but a couple other examples. Def Leppard. I remember looking at compilations and stuff, and like that first album doesn't even exist. And I would trade all the rest of the Def Leppard albums for On Through the Night. I really like On Through the Night, and that I actually was of age and hearing it on Chicago radio. I heard Rock Brigade a few times, so most of the new wave of British heavy metal I didn't find out about until much later, but that one particular song I did actually hear when it was current. I don't know why. I don't know why Chicago was playing it, but they were. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, and Crocus does this. Well, Crocus is a great. Anytime you're talking about change, Crocus is like the canonical example. It seems like, but. They did this at least 3 times, because I would consider that with Mark Storace, that's the definitive sound of Crocus. But the first album was really weird and kind of proggy. The second album was more of a kind of a boogie kind of thing-ish. I mean, it's got some of that on it. And then they went to try to do a more metal boogie kind of thing, like a heavier Fog Hat for a while, until they got Storace in. So the 70s albums, Paid and Metal and that kind of stuff, had you could see where they were eventually getting their, they were trying to move towards a sound, but they just didn't have the vocals for it. And the guy, he eventually just played bass. He wasn't really a lead singer for that kind of stuff. And as soon as the first Storace album happened, first song on there, Heat Strokes, it's like, okay, now we know what Crocus is supposed to sound like. And then the rest of the album wasn't all that great, but they did set the template and go on from there. So,
Yeah, that debut from Crocus sounds like it's from an Eastern European country that doesn't even exist anymore. It's just the weirdest, most out there, wacky. Where are these guys picking up their influences? It sounds like it's beyond influence. It's the strangest record.
yeah, and I think it was only the bass player, Chris Van Roer, that was later the singer. I think he was the only member in there, and everybody else left, before the second album, which they've done a couple of times. I remember noticing in their discography that there was one spot, that was my favorite Crocus fact, where nobody from one particular album was on the next album. It was different people from the classic lineup, so they all had a right to call themselves Crocus. Sure, fine, no argument. But it was just funny that there wasn't a single member that played on both.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious. And my counterexample is Therian. Their first album does not sound anything like the rest of their catalog. And the reason they're not an example and they're a counterexample is because I don't think it's very good. I mean, it's just kind of a generic death metal sound, and it's all right, I guess. But like, I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, this is different. And then I just never went back to it because there just wasn't anything that grabbed me on there. Whereas, after that, they turned into a band that kind of defined their own sound, and they forged a new sound. I really like bands that do that. I got a lot of respect for that. So, and I guess you could almost argue Maiden, but anyway, sorry, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's funny because me and Logan were talking about a Crocus show, and I was just saying, like,
Yeah.
those early albums are just really, really strange. I'm like, I don't know really anyone that would really even know those early albums, or
That's
be able
probably
to
the only
talk,
guy
or
who
be able to
brought
talk
that up.
about them. And
Yeah.
that's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just joking with Byron, by the way.
yeah.
I know you'll watch it later, man.
Yeah. Let's I'll pick up three now. So the next one is favorite last tracks on an album. So this is actually So this is actually the next three clips are all from the same show. So it's favorite last tracks on an album. So that's what's
cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna be playing from that last video. By the way, we're gonna be playing Rock Brigade, which he brought up, which is actually my favorite Def Leppard song. So that was
Can't go wrong with that.
I saw that and I'm like, you kidding me? This guy's picking all the music I love. So yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, it's a big regret, man. I wish we could have got them on. But.
Yeah. So the next one is favorite last tracks on an album.
All right, cool. Well, let's throw it over to Mr. Halvarson. Jeff, you ready? What's your two?
All right. So I like your idea here, Steve, and Steve, right? Elder.
Yes.
So I have a way of looking at this. There's kind of two final track types that I like. One of them is, this is going to be an example of the first one. The track that makes you just want to go right back to the beginning of the record again and listen to it all over again. That's a good kind of final track. And the first one of those for me is the end of We Are Motorhead by Motorhead. Song is also called We Are Motorhead. It's kind of a definitive statement for the band. I actually kind of expected them to stop there because they kind of said it all in that song. But it's a great little thing that just kind of lays out a mission statement for them, and it's a great rocking track and makes you want to go right back to the beginning and listen to the album again or put on a different album, but you want more Motorhead after that. And the second example of that is on Nature of the Beast by April Wine, One More Time, which is exactly what it says on the tin. Makes me want to hear that song one more time, and the whole record, because you go right back into All Over Town, and it's like, well, shit, yeah, I'm on board for that. So I think that side 2 of Nature of the Beast gets a little less exciting, but then they close it up with that, future tense and Caught in the Crossfire. They're all right, but it flags in energy a little bit. But then you come back with One More Time, and it's just catchy as hell, and it's upbeat and just a really good song. And it's like, yeah, I'm in for another listen to this.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
All right, so that's the first 2 songs he mentioned. So now we're going to show to the next 2 songs from the same show that he mentions.
Cool.
So yeah, got that. Share screen.
Cool songs already.
Yeah.
All right, cool, David. That is awesome. Let's throw it over to Jeff. Jeff, what's your next 2?
Well, it's not Natural Science from Permanent Waves.
Or Fifth Dimension?
Or that.
Okay.
It was going to be Natural Science, actually.
Oh.
I agree. That's a hell of a track, and I also agree that is my favorite Rush album. I was given a tape of it when I was a kid. I hadn't asked for it. I didn't really know who Rush was, but I didn't have much to listen to, so I listened to it and kind of fell in love with it. It's a good record. So instead, I'm going to swap in Robin Trower for Earth Below, which is this album for Earth Below. This is the other kind of ending song that I am picking out, where when you're done with the song, you almost don't want to play anything at all because you just want to think about what you just heard and let it reverberate. Let it just happen. Kind of, it's affecting enough that you could just be quiet for a little while and then listen to something again pretty soon, but not yet. And I think For Earth Below does that pretty well. And for my next one, at the end of Secret Treaties is Astronomy. And I can't do this without mentioning astronomy. There wasn't really a choice here. I'm leaving some great stuff out for honorables, but astronomy is epic and amazing and in the running for the best VOC song. And that's pretty good.
Okay, well, sorry about that stupid game ad.
Yeah, VOC, Trower, Motorhead. I mean,
yeah, it's a wide variety, right? Like,
oh,
yeah, I love all that stuff too.
yeah.
I wish we could have got him on a show.
Yeah, I wish I would have even let him come on and just talk about his gear, man. He's got a lot of them.
Well, that was the end of that one anyway, so it's kind of good timing that it did it at that point. But yeah, the next one is his next favorite last tracks from this. So show that one. Yeah, let's see, it's the right one. Yeah, okay, it's the right one.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is like, I guess this is one of his honorable mentions. So it's a cool song. This one I didn't expect. I was surprised with this one. But yeah, it'd be cool to play this song too. So yeah.
Anyway, cool. Thanks, David. Awesome. Jeff,
Got it.
What's your final and your honorables?
All right. There was no choice here either. It absolutely had to be the tail end of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Spiral Architect. I'm surprised it's gotten this far with nobody picking that and people picking all
Almost
the other Sabbath tracks. But I have loved that song for as long as I've known about it. It's been one of my absolute favorite things on the planet. I mean, I love that album. I love that song in particular. It's just one of the best things ever. And honorables, I'd just like to second everything Andrew said about UB40, because I'm picking Reefer Madness off of Signing Off. I love UB40, and I didn't know that anybody else here. I've mentioned them a time or two, but I usually get dull stares. So I love all that early stuff. I love Rat in the Kitchen. Reefer Madness is just a long ass dub track at the end of double album. I agree that it's really too bad that everybody hates him because of Red Red Wine and stuff like that. When that's just a thing that they did. They sold a bunch of records. Sure, they got money. Can't really blame them for wanting to do that. But they did all this serious stuff before that, and after. And nobody knows, nobody cares. It's kind of sad, but they are they actually are part of why I got into dub in the first place, and now I have a crap ton of dub. So they're the main honorable. Well, there's nobody's mentioned Love to Love at the end of Lights Out by UFO. And I think that's another, when you're done with that. I remember listening to that once when it had been raining out and I was sitting in a parking garage where I lived in Chicago at the time. And I just kind of looked at the rain patterns on the windshield, listened to Love, and then just kind of turned the stereo off and just sat there for a while, because it's that kind of song. But to me, the king of those sorts of songs, this is my last one, is a little bit spoiled by the fact that there's a joke track at the end of that record that I just unselect and don't ever play, and I forgot that it existed. But otherwise, I would go with a song called Whitewater, which is at the end of Welcome to Sky Valley by Caius, which has some really glorious fuzz in it. And it's actually of all the tracks that have been mentioned, for me, it is the one that is the most. I've listened to this and now I just need a moment. I'm just going to let that reverberate and just think about it for a while. You don't need to listen to any more music after that. Music's done for a minute. You'll get back into it, but a few minutes of silence doesn't hurt after that track. If anyone's not familiar with that album, I would say that's the best Caius album and a good place to start.
All right, cool.
It's one of my favorite albums ever. I put it up there with like Permanent Waves and Bloody Sabbath has albums that are great all the way through and just practically transcendent. Anyway, that's my honorables.
All right.
Well,
yeah, so we're gonna be
I
playing
totally agree with
Spiral.
them. Totally agree with them about Caius, though.
Here, before we get to the next one, I'll share some of these pictures. Let's see.
Yeah, very wide range of music taste. I mean, UB40 and Caius, who says that in the same sentence?
I don't know if you'll be able to make this out. I don't know if you'll be able to make this out, but it's just from an online game he used to play. I don't know if you can really read that, but the character says Witch Find.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So you can't read that, but yeah, it's so blurry. But it does say Witch Find. What else we got here? Here's the cat pictures. So this is ponies. It's cute.
Nice.
Princess. Man loved his cats. Yeah.
Yep, he loved his cat.
What game was that, Tammy? Curious what game that is. It's gonna turn into a video game channel. I know Logan loves his video games. He's played like one in his life.
Yep.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah, and then I actually learned how to play. I don't know.
City of Heroes. Okay, yeah, I've never. Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the next one is this is actually like the last. Well, not the last. The last clip that he was. Well, second last one actually. So Unsung Heroes on classic albums, and this is where you get the Witch Find mention. He didn't mention any songs, so I just went with, I guess, the title track and like another song. But he says he loves the whole album. So if anyone in the comments can actually let me know what his favorite songs were off of this album, I'll change it and I'll play those instead. But yeah, here he talks about Witch Find. So he talks about the bass player actually. So
cool.
This one. Share screen. Unsung heroes.
Yeah, that's fine. So, well, let's stop there. Let's go over to Jeff. What have you got?
All right. Well, I guess stop me when you've had enough.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Witchfind, and this guy's credited. It's the bass player Andrew Colton on the first album. And so, as I understand it, Witchfind was their inspiration was kind of Black Sabbath and Rush at the same time, and I think they did a pretty good job of that early on. It's more progressive than really anything else in that time period, in that movement. Not more progressive than Rush, but as far as new wave of British heavy metal goes, they were kind of way out front doing that. Didn't really get them noticed, but this happens. And so listening to the album, there's a lot of interplay between him and the guitarist Montalo. One of them is playing, and then the other one does. And so
Jeff, are you referring to the first one? Give him hell.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I'm really only talking about Give 'Em Hell.
Okay.
And a little bit about Stage Fright, but not much.
Okay.
So there's just a craftedness to what's going on there, and the bass is always doing something that's helping the song in a way that, unless you're a bass player, which I am, you might not even listen to that. You might not notice it, but it's making a big difference. This is going to be a theme for tonight over here, by the way. Basically he left the band after the first album. He wrote some bass lines on Stage Fright, but didn't play on it, I guess. And it's right there where Witchfind kind of went away from the proggier stuff that they were doing. They could still put together some pretty decent songs. I mean, it was still well done, but they got poppier. And I think losing him is basically why that happened, because the other people came and went, but the guitarist never left. And I just don't think that, even though I love a few of the tracks later, they just don't measure up to that first album. I would love to see what they would have done if he had stayed around, and if they hadn't tried to sell records, really. Of course, I can't blame him for wanting to sell records. So that's and he's apparently still running around doing something, playing old Witchfind stuff, and the old stuff from before the first album. That I guess there was a bunch of that too, and that's all on at least some of that stuff is on a live EP from like '75.
Okay.
But they were together for like 5 or 6 years as a solid group before before all the lineup changes. And then it was like a lineup change, at least one member left every time they made another record.
Yeah.
I don't know if that counts as a classic album, and I don't know if he counts exactly as unsung, because he is credited on the record, but
Yeah.
I think he contributed a hell of a lot more than, nobody talks about this guy at all.
Okay.
He's not playing fancy bass. He's just playing the right thing.
Yeah. All right. Got another one?
So, hey,
Gentlemen,
hey, how's it going?
good. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this.
Yeah, of course.
I apologize for showing up late.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, you're fine, man.
But it's so funny because I don't think that there was a bigger supporter of Witchfind than Jeff, which is, it's pretty fascinating when you think about it. A lot of times people will be associated with the group, and they always kind of maybe do it for fun. They sort of you know, I mean, let's just say Logan comes on and on one episode, Logan says, "Oh, I'm a big Level 42 fan." So then there it is for like the next 6 years. Everyone's going, "Oh, Logan, you know, Mr. Level 42."
Yeah.
And but for Jeff, it was always Witchfind, and sometimes I never really knew was Jeff that big of a Witchfind fan, or was that just like something he was tagged with? But in the end, I will forever associate that band with Jeff Halvarson.
100%.
Every single time, even like Witchfinder General, I'm going to associate with Jeff Halvarson.
Because he would throw them in there too, because they sound Witchfinder. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of the times, you know, I obviously know the difference between the two, but each time I would see him talk about Witchfind, it was always Witchfinder General would always come to my mind, and I don't know why. I guess it's just because, you know,
very similar sounding name.
Yeah, I mean, there's a group out there called Jellyfish Kiss. You can think of 3 bands with that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the thing ultimately, like, I didn't know Jeff that well. In fact, a lot of you probably knew him a lot better than I did. But obviously, I appreciate anybody that supports anything that I do. I mean, we all do. Yeah. I mean, Sydney, Logan, this is why we're up here, because Jeff supported what we did.
Yeah.
Right. And in turn, that is the most important thing that we could do is, you know, celebrate his memory, support who he was and stuff. But the thing that really always fascinated me, you know, because you think of, again, Witchfind, I think I'm just going to go out and get a Witchfind t-shirt, you know,
there you go.
In honor of him. You know, it'll be like, you know, everyone else, you know, you see them walking down the street and they've got like a, you know, Misfits t-shirt. You know, they've never listened to anything beyond like maybe the first 3 songs of one album. That's probably what I'll do with you know, Witchfind. But thing is you knew that Jeff was a music fan. It wasn't all about Witchfind. It was, you know, I encountered him on, you know, Grant's Rock Warehouse, and that sort of turned into him showing up on my channel. No panels or anything like that, but he started showing up for like Ski Lodge and stuff. So you're talking about Witchfind, and he's getting off on the Carpenters. You know, which is what I play, you know. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Carpenters are on Ski Lodge a lot, actually. And it's really a matter of him digging music. And I think that is ultimately really what brings us all together. You know, we make jokes about you know, DC doing the Davy Jones dance, or we always make you know, we have fun, you know, with him being, you know, really into, you know, vaudeville music, you know, like Rudy Valley's his favorite, you know. But in the end, the thing that really ties all of us together is the fact that he loved music.
Yeah.
It was music that he loved. And I think that, you know, I mean, we can all laugh at each other and have fun and go like, oh yeah, you love this band, you love that band. But there's that sort of common thread that ultimately brings us all together and makes us, you know, connects us, is the fact that we all love music. And Jeff was one of the people, he was not ashamed. You know, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. I don't know if Jeff had guilty pleasures, but I do not believe in them. I am going to tell you, I love Tom Jones and the Carpenters and Rod McEwen just as much as I love Buzzcocks and the Jam and the Clash and whoever else. To me, it's all amazing and wonderful. And it's this, you know, our lives are made up of this decoupage of all this crazy, glorious music. He was one of those guys. You know, he wasn't ashamed to talk about, you know what, I really like that. He would start saying, you know, on Ski Lodge, he would start saying things like, oh, I love that, or, you know, I love this music. It's very calming. It's great, you know, after I've had a bad day. And then just, you know, weeks before he passed, he let us know, you know, in the chat, in the comments, and, you know, that he was in the hospital, or, you know, he was having a bad time. And, you know, and immediately all the people, you know, just like the chatters here, you know, and I'm sorry for, you know, talking.
That's okay.
But all the people, you know, came together to support him, you know, at least offer him encouraging words,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's all you can do. You know, it's just like Sydney, what is your favorite band of all time?
Triumph.
Okay, well, I'm very sorry to hear that. It's no. But you know, I mean, you know, the whole thing is that we're here to support each other, and I'm here to support you, whether or not. Okay, the Triumph. Okay, whatever. Actually, what Rick Emmett, right?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. I'm just even giving you a hard time. I have nothing against Triumph whatsoever. But that's the thing. We all find something to support each other with, and to try to hold each other up. You know, I'm scared to ask Logan what his favorite band is.
I wish I could tell you, man. I don't really. I'd say I'm gonna say Black Sabbath for now. That'll be the
Okay.
one.
B-52s. No.
Not level 42.
But yeah, you know, it's awesome when people like Jeff come along, because he may not have patted everybody on the back, but you know what he said and what he did in supporting all of us said, even if he didn't say like, hey, I'm here to support you, the fact that he was there to support us
Yeah, means everything.
Yeah, absolutely means everything. It meant everything. And the great thing about people like Jeff is that it will continue to mean something. You know, we will continue to remember him. Did we know him great? No. Did we hang out with him? Did we eat ice cream with him? You know, did we sit across the table and go, boy, this McRib is really good, isn't it? We did not do that, but he's just kind of part of, you know, this crazy
music community.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
And he's also one of the guys that proves you don't have to be part of a community. You can support everybody. You can go on, you can support Grant, you can support Sydney, Logan, me, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just people supporting people. And that's what it's ultimately.
That general love of music, you know, it's just worldwide kind of thing. Universal.
Yeah, it's like comic books to me. You know, you go in and you can hang out with, you know, you could be a huge Superman fan and still hang out with Spider-Man fans, you know, or you know, that's what it's really all about. Just loving what you love, and you know, being there, being kind, being present for other people.
Oh yeah. He would crack jokes about people's music taste, but you never make it personal, right? They're just these silly jokes, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is the thing: is humor is very, very interesting, because there are people out there who are mean spirited.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like Logan's hairstyle, so they're going to say, you know, or they're going to say, oh, hey, you know, they're going to say, oh, Schnee, nice wig, right? And you know,
Marlon.
Someone's told you that? Oh my god.
You know, but there's, you know, people are going to say stuff, and you know, like us three, I hardly know you, Sydney. I hardly know you, Logan. I know you guys through through Grant.
Yeah.
You know, but I know that I can get up here, we can have a good time, but I'm never going to be mean spirited. But there are
No.
people who are going to be that way. Jeff Halvarson was not one of those people.
No.
He definitely joked in the chat, but you knew that he really, that there was no malice.
No, just being silly, right?
Yeah. Sometimes that's all you can be to it relieves your tension and makes other people laugh. You know, and some people may not get that kind of humor, but it's important, I think, in the end, that you don't walk away. Like the great thing about Jeff, here's amongst many things, is that Jeff has left us, and which is unfortunate. But the fortunate thing is that we are here talking highly of him.
Yeah.
In his mind, maybe it was important to connect with each and every one of us on certain levels. And he left this lasting effect. He left this good feeling. He left good vibes. I'd hate to leave this world and have people go, yeah, he was kind of a dick,
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And I never want to be that guy who is kind of a dick, So, but yeah, that's all I have to say. He was a good man.
Yeah. Oh, his comments made me laugh, as actually you're gonna show. Oh, now I feel bad because this next video he tells you to shut up in it. I don't know if you remember, it was the very first thing I was ever on. It was a Friday night chat, and he had the video playing. Like, he had the actual video playing on YouTube in the background, so it was causing an echo. And then you're trying to explain to him, and he's like, "Can you just shut up for 1 second while I figure this out?" And then he comes back and he's like, "My apologies." He said, "I had the YouTube video playing. I'm an idiot." And it's just like, oh, it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just funny. So I'm going to share that clip now. You have anything else to add, or?
No. I wanted to mention that. I just think it's important. Celebrate each other, celebrate our strengths. And don't spend so much time just trying to bring people down to put yourself up. I mean, what's that moron's name in the chat all the time that nobody likes? Starts with Marlon. Is it Marlon? Melvin?
I was gonna say Pumping Vinyl, but
yeah.
Oh,
Pumping Vinyl's been the one lately. I don't know.
He's gonna come into this stream now.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Couldn't have put it better though. Schnee really.
Oh yeah, that was perfect. That was
kind
great.
Yeah, play that clip.
Okay, so you're gonna play that now.
I remember this very well.
The look on your face. I'm like, uh-oh. Okay. All right, so you got this.
We called it middle school. Uh-oh. Now we're in a feedback loop again.
Yes, middle school for the young kids.
Well, we'll find out where the loop is coming from.
I was gonna say, if somebody's watching the video while they're on here, then they need. Yeah, we need to look off.
It seems like every time
Watching the video while they're on here.
What are you saying that?
Is it Jeff?
2021.
All right. Jeff. It's Jeff. Because I muted Jeff and it went away.
Not
Jeff, you got any headphones? You got any headphones?
I
What?
still. Okay, this is really frustrating.
There we go.
Oh, goodness. Do you have any headphones?
Well, the thing is, when
Close your YouTube tab.
Do you have any headphones?
Shut
Close it,
up. You're like 1 minute. Let me talk.
We're in a feedback loop. That's the problem.
I know that.
Yes.
Great thing is that I think Jeff is still in that feedback loop.
Oh my God. And there's a second part where he comes back and he talks about a little bit of things, so I'm going to show that as well. Sorry.
So, Jeff, you got anything to share with the class since you're here? Since everything's working?
Well, as you know, I don't actually buy physical media at this point. There was a problem with a roommate and a storage unit and an out-of-state contract, and then suddenly I didn't have any CDs anymore. So what few I did have, I just wound up ripping and selling, and I just keep everything online. So I can hold up no records or any. I don't have a single bit of collection there, but we got some guitar players. So I'm going to temporarily disconnect this from the rig if I can do it one-handed. Later, I will have a setup where I don't have to hold the mic in my hand.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you, though.
Yeah, I mean, sound quality is more important than convenience. So,
well, my son, when I first started this, he said, "Dad, people really don't care about your video quality so much, but they want you to sound good. That's the number one. Like all the gaming channels, you've got to sound good when you're doing it." So he said, "So make sure you buy a good mic."
That makes sense. So this is going to be real hard to read, but there is I'm going to give a plug to a company that I've bought a lot of pedals from. This guy's in Poland, and he makes a ton of interesting pedals.
That's what Jeff sounds like.
It was really muffled before, wasn't it?
Oh, you weren't muffled. It just sounded like you were in a tube all the time.
Let's see. There we go. So this is called a Fuzz Venger.
Wait a minute. Let me make that big. Let me see.
This is an Occult Pedals Fuzz Venger. You can almost just about read it.
Loud, tone, gain, button.
So it's a fuzz box.
This actually
based on a certain circuit.
I don't know. I don't remember offhand if this is an attempt. This isn't just like a big muff or something like that.
Okay.
This is actually an octave below and fuzz at the same time. And it's less glitchy than a lot of the other octave effects, like a Boss OC2 or whatever the Electro Harmonics one was called. I've got one. I forgot what it's called. I haven't seen it in a while. So the cool thing about Occult, the little star, the little pinnacle thing, that's actually just the LED that tells you that it's on. It's not a button. So it's got kind of interesting graphics, and I do kind of like that, but this guy makes a lot of really good fuzzes. I have I don't know if you guys know, if anybody is watching this that knows a lot about fuzz, then if you know enough, you know that the Holy Grail is a germanium NKT 275 is the transistors that go in that. And that's what, the fuzz face originally had. Analog Man has some that use that. You can't get them anymore. I've got two of them because I really like it. Fuzz is one of my absolute favorite effects. When I find a pedal I like, I wind up with a lot of them.
I hear you.
Like that orange guy up there, that's a Red Witch Phaser Deluxe. This white one over here, that's another Red Witch Phaser Deluxe. The orange one goes with the orange amps. I've got a couple of orange ones. I've got
here we go. Go ahead. Wait a minute. Go ahead.
Thing I noticed.
That's his gear.
Before I go here, I wanted to point something out about. I love catching these little tiny things about people, and of course I'm guilty of this as well. Is Grant's up there and he's going, yeah, my son told me, about basically, people don't care about the video, but it's the sound of the voice. You have to have really good sound, blah 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 blah. He's sort of explained that, and then Jeff's like, Yeah, on this gear, and then he like just totally didn't even pay attention to what Grant was saying. And I think that when we're all in that zone, especially musicians in their gear, when we're in that zone, it's just like, you could be like, Jeff, look outside. There's a giant tidal wave headed towards your home. He'll be going, oh, that's kind of a bummer. Well, you see on this orange fuzz,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
But I mean, we're all like that. We're all
So
like that.
you're focused on thinking of what you're going to say next, right? So you're listening, but you're kind of like, yeah.
Exactly. And you don't understand the whole concept. It's like, honey, we're going to have a baby. It's like, great. But if you really look at this pedal here, see these knobs.
Another one of his cats. Oh, that's a horrible shot. There we go. Hold on. Oh, stupid. There. All right. There we go.
See, here's something.
Loves his cat pictures.
Yes, I love those. Here is my final thought before I leave. I love pets, and people who love animals, that's just like an extra. Sometimes you can judge people by whether they love animals or not. I personally love animals, cats, dogs. I don't prefer either. I mean, I don't want, a bird, but if you want a bird, that's absolutely fine. But the thing that bothers me is it's devastating when they pass.
Yeah.
It's just as if you're losing somebody, but it's also devastating for them when you pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that.
Oh yeah, they realize that it's.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you think the cat's going to go like, oh, that guy's not here anymore. I hope somebody else comes along and feeds me, and then they just move on, but they don't.
No, they don't.
Maybe dogs do, but. So. Okay, but Sydney, thank you so much for inviting me on this. And this is I think the first time I've been on with both of you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an honor.
Of course, yes.
It's an honor being with both of you, and on the next 24-hour Witch Find chat, I'll definitely stop by and everybody just come together for each other, because we don't want to get up on a channel and talk about how good somebody was when they're not here to hear it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just want to be there. I appreciate you, Sydney. I appreciate you, Logan. I marginally appreciate DC and the rest of you out in chat. So, but I appreciate the time you gave me to get up here and talk about Jeff. And I wish everybody a great and wonderful. Are either of you fathers?
No.
Nope.
I'm Logan.
Not yet.
I'm Logan's father.
No.
Well, that's funny because I've heard that you both are motherfuckers. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody. Great Father's Day, and hopefully we will talk soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sydney. Thank you, Logan.
Thanks for coming
Have
on.
a good day.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Oh, that was great.
He's funny, man.
She's funny. I knew I picked the right person for this. Oh my God, that was.
Yeah, how great is it? I mean, we
He's
never
funny.
met him. We never really met him like this.
Yeah.
And he's just so down to earth. And
Oh,
we all connected through Jeff. I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So continue here. So this next. So Jeff's not these last two clips. He wasn't actually on it. This is a show I was on, but he posted a funny comment. Like it's So we were doing our favorite songs of 1985, and he chips in with a comment at the end that I win because I guess he liked all my picks more than everybody else's picks. So it's kind of a funny. The reaction is funny. So and then in the second clip, I keep going with honorable mentions and start picking stuff that he doesn't like, and he tells me I should have stopped at 10. So I'm gonna show those clips. So yeah, there's that screen. A bit odd.
Oh, look, Jeff says you win.
You're the winner, Sydney. Ding, 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 ding.
Because you lined up with Mr. Halvarson. You finally look at you.
But
Where's
Jeff,
Marlon?
I picked Wild Child for crying out loud. Don't I
Yeah.
win something?
I don't. I just
I completely pissed Marlon off. He left the show after my picks.
Marlon left.
That was just that quick little clip I wanted to show. It was kind of funny. Yeah, I think of that. And at the time, I think it's Jeff. I remember him telling me that. That's funny. Made me laugh. And then, yeah, this next part here. There we go. Present
You go a step
screen.
too far on this one.
Yeah. There we go. What else? I was gonna go with Smoking in the Boys Room. I actually do like their cover.
Oh God.
This is where I'm starting to.
Okay. Hey, love what you love. That's what music's all about. Love what you love.
Like I said, I can listen to. I don't know. I can listen to anything from Bryan Adams to Slayer. So.
I hear you. I'm the same way, man.
Board, but I do tend toward go when I'm picking favorites. I'll go with the heavier stuff. But yeah.
Jeff says you should have stopped at 10.
I should have never started.
I've got that.
Yeah, it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh every
funny.
time. It's too funny. Should have stopped at 10. Oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I think the
That's-
last time he came on was the Rat Child America.
Yeah, and he was in the chats. Yeah.
So I'm
he
glad
was
he
always-
came on for that, you know. Because
Oh,
he was in
yeah.
the hospital around that time, I think. So
Yeah.
that was probably like late April, maybe. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the channels that he was on. What else did I? Making sure I don't leave out anything. Yeah, I shared all the pictures that I've been sent. Yeah. So it was nice to do this. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that there's.
I thank everybody who was Jeff's friend who came on and watched the show and
Yeah. It was-
remembered Jeff for the great guy he was.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was great. He was a supporter of our channel. Watched it whenever he could. Yeah, I was kind of wondering because had been a while since that he was in our chat. I
Yeah,
was
maybe a
wondering. I
couple
thought, oh,
weeks,
maybe he just got sick of watching us yammer on. So went to go message him. That's how I found out. I went to go message him on Facebook. I was gonna say, hey, what's up? Haven't seen you in the chats in a while, and I was gonna ask him to do like a witch find show or something with witch find because I knew I liked them. And then I saw, I think it was Tammy, I believe, or Carrie. I think it was either Tammy or Carrie's post that I saw announcing he had passed, and it had already been like a couple of weeks. I didn't even realize. So
Yeah, we didn't find out. I think it was like June,
yeah,
early June.
I think like June 1st or June 2nd or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, Carrie. It was.
Yeah, I was glad to do this. I mean, I wish I knew that. I just wish I knew him better. It's just great to have people
Yeah, it's
who
a
did know
shame.
him. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they
it's a
tell the
shame.
stories. And
Yeah, I would have liked to have him on our show, but what can you do? It's life. But
Yep.
just glad we got to know him as little as we did. But always enjoyed like our little banters in the chat.
yeah, he was a
Yeah.
great guy from what I knew him. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free to use this. And like I said, there's the link in the description of all the full entire shows that he's appeared on. I think it's like 15 or 16 total.
Yeah.
So we didn't show everything, but there's there's even more clips of him. So, oh yeah, I know he would have said yes to that, especially if Witch Find. He'd be like, I'm there. When is this? Yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to do a show with him. Like I said, always enjoyed our chats. He was a funny guy, and
Yep.
always well spoken with his reviews too. Yeah, like
Yeah, he
Shane
put me
Lee-
and you to shame.
Yeah. Oh god, he should have hosted our channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, stick around. In about 15 minutes, we're gonna, if you want, I don't know if you're gonna like any of this music, but we're playing. But Jeff loved this music, so we're gonna be playing the next is we're just gonna be hanging out and just listening to music, and it's all songs that he had mentioned in a lot of these videos that in these videos clips that we shared. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell he was a very humble guy who loved this. Yeah.
Yep.
Variety of music.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I gotta go put my wig on.
Okay. Here we go. That's right. Yeah, it was well spoken by Schnee. It was great.
Oh man, yeah, I couldn't even add anything. But he pretty much summed it up. I just think it's great, you know. I mean, he loved, like, Snee didn't really know him that great like we did, but I mean, he knew him, you know. And
Yeah.
he brought us together to do this, you know, kind of in a way.
There you
So.
go. Grab a copy and enjoy the tune. There you go.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want to stick around, you can. If which find is too much for you, you don't have to listen. You don't have to be there. It's fine. But yeah, we're gonna do a little music hangout in his honor and just sit back and just enjoy the music that you've heard him mention in this. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Glad we could do this. I'm glad there's people that showed up for this. So that's great.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah, it was good to do this. I wanted to do something that means a lot to me. That if anyone that's supportive of anything we did, like Schnee said, I felt like want to do this. So.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm glad that
I'm
I'm just rambling on now. All right, so yeah, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.